Welcome to Grow on the Go, your on-the-go spot for learning and development at UC Berkeley. Today's episode, Setting Professional Development Goals, with Lisa Rykert and Vaneese Johnson. Grow on the Go is produced by People and Organization Development in Berkeley People and Culture.
Hi, Vaneese. Welcome. We are
Hi,
so,
Lisa.
hi, so thrilled to have you here joining us on this Grow on the Go segment today to help UC Berkeley staff set and achieve professional development goals. And you were such a hit at our NOW conference this year and last year, and we just couldn't get enough of you. So we are so thankful for your willingness to come back and join us in this continued conversation to support staff with their goal setting.
I am so super happy to be here. And I think it's really amazing. And I want to applaud you and your team for putting together a series like this. Because here's the reality: people are so busy nowadays, even though we have all pivoted due to the pandemic, but we are experiencing ourselves more connected to work than ever. And it's really challenging to pull away to focus on yourself. So I applaud you, your team, and UC Berkeley for putting together a series like this so that people can still invest in their career moving forward.
Well, thank you so much, Vaneese, and I'm so thrilled that you are part of our team as a UC Extension instructor and one of our NOW presenters and coaches. And so let's just dive right into some questions I'd love to get your wisdom on for our staff. So we are
Yes, let's dive in.
okay, great. So we are here to talk about how people can maximize their career potential through setting and achieving professional development goals. Now, when you are thinking about those who are successful in setting and achieving professional development goals, what are some of the things that these people are doing to give them the edge in their career development?
One of the things that I notice in working with high potential, career transition professionals, high performing professionals, is that they have some common themes in mind. And the three things that they have in mind, Lisa, is number one, they have a vision for their career. They think about, what's next? What does my future look like? They think about how much income they want to make. They think about the title they want to hold. They think about the team of people they want to lead. They also think about the impact that they want to have with their career. And that's really important, is having a vision for where you want to go with your career. Number two is they have a mission. What's their why? Why are they doing the type of work that they are doing? What's the reason for the commitment? This is what drives them every day. This is what gets them out of bed. This is what helps them to stay focused on stretching themselves, because they have a goal that's bigger than themselves. They're thinking about the impact. Who's going to benefit from my skills? How can I change the organization or contribute to the organization's change? And how do I better serve internal and external customers while being satisfied with my career? So having a mission is really important. And rounding that out is they treat their career like a business. That is probably the one most pivotal point that I could share, is that individuals who are highly successful, they treat their career like a business. They pay attention to the industry trends that are happening today, but they also are future focused. They look at what's coming 5 and 10 years down the road. So what they do is they will take that information, look at their vision, look at their mission, and readjust it where accordingly, develop and strengthen those skills so that can become an asset today. And they're not what we call a commodity, meaning they keep themselves out of the commodity zone so that their skills are valuable and can be in demand.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So just similar to organizations, top performing organizations that have clear vision and mission, it's important for us to think about those things mean for our career journey. So at UC Berkeley, we consider people managers as coaches and developers of their staff. What could they be doing? What could managers be doing for their teams to help with creating strong professional development goals?
What's really important for managers, because they play such a pivotal part in contributing to the success of that individual on their team, thereby allowing that individual to contribute back success to the team, is that managers really can give their employees time for professional development planning. And that's really, really important. As managers and as leaders, yes, we are focused on department goals that connect to the organization goals. However, we need to really look at our team contributors so that we can be able to tap with them to see, are they doing the work that they love to do? What is the level of the skill that they have doing the work? Would they like to be stretched to learn more? How does that individual team member see themselves contributing to the team, not just today, but also tomorrow? And what can they do as management and as leaders to support teams really being excited about the work that they do? So I would really encourage managers to set time aside to meet with your team as a whole and talk about how you really want to help shape the team to be high performing, and then talk to each individual team contributor. So that way, the manager and the team manager, the team individual, can get on the same accord about what are the goals individually for this person and how are those goals going to impact and contribute to the department as a whole. We need our managers to be partners with us to make sure that it's successful for everyone involved. But managers, please set aside time. You can do this quarterly or you can do this semi-annually to just make sure that employees and team members, team contributors know they matter.
Yeah, and at UC Berkeley, we are so fortunate in that we have the structure for that. We have the structure for managers to support their teams in that way. We have the professional development policy that allows for 10 days or 80 hours of professional development to explore and strengthen one's skills in their career.
And you know what, Lisa, I'll add to that. Thank you for sharing that, what benefits are already there. It's important for managers to make sure that the team members are reminded that the benefits are there, because they can be there, they can be posted on the site that that team members have to go and search through, sift through. They could be an employee manual. However, when you are busy with day-to-day executing tasks and meeting goals, oftentimes that information, if it's not in front of you, you don't remember that it's available to you. So it's important for managers to, when they're having quarterly check-ins with staff, or even if they're having one-on-one meetings with a team member, is to really remind them, what resources are available that the organization is committed to, and working with that individual to schedule time on the calendar so they can definitely partake in that benefit.
Yes. Yes. And so in addition to that policy, we have the new Achieve Together performance development program that has scheduled conversations between managers and their staff to discuss their professional development. And then we have such a wealth of different opportunities that staff can choose from to own their career. And so, Vaneese, we talked about some ways that managers can support employees. What are some ways that employees can help their managers buy in to support their growth?
It's important to not only make your goals, as an individual, but to share them with your manager. Because what you want is a support system that will help you to move forward with those goals. So don't write your goals and just have them in isolation. It's important to share them because you are going to need the support of your manager, whether that is to request time off for upcoming professional development events, or perhaps that your manager may have information and access to resources that may be critical in helping you to take those goals to the next level. And it's really great to have an accountability partner that is on your side. That's really important. So when you're making your goals, please share the appropriate ones with your manager so that they can be able to help you and support you with what you need to move forward. But if you don't
Mhm.
share, if you don't tell, how will the manager know how to support you?
Right. You know, one of my wise coaches once told me, like, it's important to get loud and proud, about your vision, your goals, and your dreams. So, and that's a stretch for me, tending to be sort of like modest, but it really works. Like when you can share your goals with enthusiasm and energy, then it creates this continued energy for managers and peers, to want to support you and to hear about it and take it in.
Right,
So
right.
I would encourage everybody, just to stretch with that and
And you know what, Lisa? Managers are busy doing their jobs as
mhm,
well. So they're not necessarily watching to see what you're doing. They're not
mhm,
necessarily coming up with ideas for your career. And it's not because the managers aren't necessarily supportive or want you to succeed. It's just that they're focusing on their tasks at hand. So
mhm,
don't leave the responsibility of your career growing to the next level to your managers. Own that responsibility and bring your manager in as a partner with you to help you achieve those goals.
mhm. Yes, yes. As as you might say, to get bold about it and share and bring them in, and to share with managers like what's in it for them, the benefit. As a result of me participating in this training
Yeah.
on this committee, I'm increasing my knowledge of campus and my network that helps me to do my job more effectively. So to share from that perspective
Yeah. Bring
well
that
can be
learning.
helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Can be very helpful. Bringing that learning back to the team can
Hmm.
definitely be helpful because you may discover in your learning that there's an opportunity for more efficiencies, in how
Hmm.
not only how you do your job, but also how the team can do their job. And I'm sure every manager can appreciate, and look forward to someone bringing
Hmm.
back information that will help
Hmm.
everybody to operate smoother and cohesively.
Yeah, so I think we've touched on, some good ideas, but many of those watching, listening, or reading this interview might be thinking like, what else can I do, to set myself in motion like efficiently? And, what other advice might you have for them?
One of the things that I would add to set yourself, in motion is to really think about what's next for you. Really spend some time being introspective and reflective and look at your career history because your career journey tells a story. And the story that it's telling up until this point, is this the story that you want to continue to be told? Based on the journey
Hmm.
that you're on? Or is it time for a new story? And
Hmm.
I think that's really important. So I want to go on two areas of the story. So let's say that you're on this career journey, Lisa, and you're like, Venice, this is absolutely exactly where I want to be. Then I'm going to encourage you to step into your bigness, build in your genius. What I mean by that is, I want you to really look at these skills that you're happy with and identify the opportunity to go deeper with those skills. What else can you do with this skill? What else can you do with this skill? What else can you do with this skill? And it will really give, professionals an opportunity to really pick apart what they're doing to see where the opportunity to become bolder, bigger, and better
Hmm.
and be happier with their career. So peel the layer back so that you're not in the monotony of just saying, yeah, this is great and I'm okay with it. I really want you to be happy with it, not just okay. And you can create and shift your happiness time after time because life is continual, right? What we're happy with today
Right.
may not be what we're happy with tomorrow, but we're not necessarily want to do something completely different.
Uh-huh.
And the second part of that is if it's time for a new story, then I really want you to look at your talents and your gifts and your skills and ask yourself, am I using them in this current role? Or have I maxed out the way that I can use them in this current role. And I'm going to encourage you to start looking around the organization and other departments, that you might be interested in working, other titles that you may want for yourself. And equally important, seek out other professionals that are doing the job, in the UC family that you want to do.
Mhm.
Have virtual coffee with them. Talk about, what is this role, how has this role supported them in achieving their career goals? What advice
Mhm.
would they give to you for a person who is considering, switching career lanes, after
Mhm.
being at an organization for whatever period of time? I think
Mhm.
it's really important to tap into those resources. So those are two
Mhm.
different paths that
Mhm.
both individuals under the UC family can be able to pursue and still come out loving who they work for and what they do, not only in their career, but also for the academic world.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. That leads me to some challenges that I've heard from UC Berkeley staff. And so, Vaneese, what are your thoughts on, you know, the the ability for somebody to continue to be a high performer in their current job, be crushing it in their current job, but at the same time to be exploring and striving for that next step? How could they be doing both?
That's really can be a tricky dance, but here's the good news. Don't do it by yourself. I would say that's a really challenge that a lot of professionals may be thinking about is
Mhm.
I want to take my career to the next level, but I'm already taxed with doing the work that I'm doing, plus my life outside of work, right? That's a reality
Mhm.
for a lot of us.
Mhm.
But here's
Mhm.
what works, not doing it alone. Here are three support areas that I think are really important for each professional to have in their career. I have them in mind, Lisa, and I'm pretty sure you may have them in yours too. So you're going to need a sponsor, and a
Mhm.
sponsor, someone who is listening to opportunities to bring you in, someone who has a seat at the table. And because they are connected to you, because they understand what your career vision is, what your career mission is, what your goals are, they are out there navigating among their network, keeping their ear to the ground for you. So they're looking for those opportunities. And as soon as they hear about something, they invite you into the room. They make sure that you get a seat at the table. So it's important to
Mhm.
find sponsors, or should I say, find a sponsor. I don't want everybody walking out feeling like they need to have a whole 10, 12, 15. You really just need one sponsor who has a really good network, but someone that you are connected to and have built a rapport with. The second support person that you need is a mentor. This is someone who can kind of from a coaching capacity can be able to listen to, what you are proposing, to give you some feedback, to ask you some open-ended questions, to help you to kind of see things, from different perspectives. And perhaps they will also share with you their perspective and also how they have been able to navigate some of the challenges that you may be experiencing, or to help you to prepare for challenges you may experience. So your
Mhm.
mentor really is kind of like your sounding board. So
Mhm.
because you don't want to be stuck in your own head. Because when we're stuck in our own head, we are very clever at digging rabbit holes.
Mhm.
We will go down,
Yeah.
down, down our own rabbit hole. And the last support
Mhm.
person that you need is a champion. This is a person who really is singing the praises about you, your contributions, who you are as an individual, and also about your goals. So this is the person that is eager to find those opportunities and to make sure they're throwing your name in the hat. Make sure they're throwing your name in the ring. They're the person that is when they hear of an event that's coming up, they call you right away and say, I heard this event and I put your name on the list. Now I just need you to confirm, yes, it's a go for you. So having a
Mhm.
sponsor, a mentor, and a champion to support you with your goals and your vision is important so that you're not doing it by yourself. And each of those individuals hopefully are in influential positions. They have access to people, to information, to opportunities that you otherwise may take days, months, who knows how long to be able to uncover, maybe never. But definitely having those three support areas can help you still achieve your goals while performing at your job day to day.
Yeah, that's just such sage advice is, thinking about the different roles and relationships that people play in our lives, such as mentors, sponsors, champions. And sometimes those roles can even overlap, and they often do. So somebody who's a mentor becomes your champion, and somebody, who is a sponsor is also championing for you. And so, Vaneese, I wonder if you could share some ideas on how can people identify and build those relationships? How can they find a mentor, a champion, a sponsor?
That's a really great question because I'm sure people may have been saying, "Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, but where do I look? How do I
Yeah.
what rock do I turn over to find this
Mhm.
person?" So here are some ideas. Think about a previous manager that you had a really great relationship with. Think about someone who was very supportive of you along your career journey. They helped you maybe with resources. They were encouraging with you. They always had an open door policy where you came in and had conversations with you. They also stretched you because they knew your potential and they wanted you to go beyond just potential. So tap previous managers that you have that relationship with. Also colleagues, colleagues that you have a really trusting working relationship with. That's going to be important because they've worked with you side by side, and those colleagues, perhaps, Lisa, they have gotten promoted, to another level or
Mhm.
gone on to other departments, but they definitely were great support systems while you work together. So find that colleague that you know, like, and trust. Another is connect and build your network. So many people miss out on connecting with individuals, and I'm going to throw LinkedIn in here, connecting with them on LinkedIn because the campus is so huge. UC Berkeley is international. And what a fantastic, already dedicated networking group that you can tap into to be able to grow your career. So spend
Mhm.
some time sifting through LinkedIn. LinkedIn has an alumni section. Spend time sifting through the alumni section for UC Berkeley, and you probably will be pleasantly surprised when you find out that there are other professionals that are in the departments with the titles that are part of your future vision. Reach out to those individuals. The commonality that you have is that you both work for this organization. And when people
Mhm.
have a direct commonality, they're more likely to have an open and transparent conversation with you. So
Mhm.
don't just sit scratching your head saying, I can't find anybody. I can't find anybody. I'm personally challenging you to tap LinkedIn, as a resource. And then
Mhm.
Lisa, I'm not sure because I'm very new to the UC staff, but perhaps there are some on-campus intranet systems, that maybe you think of that you can share where
Mhm.
individuals can tap even in their local areas, to be
Mhm.
able to get that support that they need. But by
Mhm.
no means, should you just continue to frustrate, yourself moving forward with your goals if you need support to help move you forward. The support is already here. We're just waiting on you to tap those resources so that you can elevate those connections.
Mhm. So, and one formal resource here on the UC Berkeley campus for finding mentors is our mentorship program. So
Mm.
we have a mentorship program here where one can find a mentor or be a mentor. So that is a formal program, and we'll provide that resource in our links. We can share that information, and then you can go to grow.berkeley.edu and you will find the mentorship program there. Go to the BSA website. And then I think another major takeaway by what you're sharing, Vaneese, is that um, there it doesn't have to be a formal process of like, where do I find a mentor or a sponsor or a champion? But just by virtue of building relationships with colleagues and with our managers and with opportunities across campus for being on a committee or joining a campus organization, these are how these relationships can naturally form. So it doesn't have to be a formal request to be a mentor or sponsor or champion, but by virtue of the relationships, it naturally happens that somebody wants to be your champion and invite you to something, or refer you somewhere, or you know, tell you about a job opportunity. So
Right,
it,
right. And
it's
here's the one thing that you might say, well, why still would someone want to support me? Because here's what you need, entering into the conversation. You want to have a vision and a mission for your career. People get excited when people come to them and say, this is what I'm doing in my career. I'm kind of stuck here, or I would love to get your advice. Because when I look at your career history, it looks like we have similar paths. Or I saw you at the Now conference, or perhaps I visited your LinkedIn profile and following you, and I've seen some of the publications you've contributed to. So don't make it hard, but come to the conversation with a sense of direction and with some sort of plan for people to help you. The
mhm,
best way to not get a sponsor, mentor, or a champion, Lisa, is to show up and say, I don't know where to start. I want you to give me some direction.
mhm.
The person's going
Right.
to be like, you know what?
Mhm,
As soon as you get your goals together, come back and see me.
mhm. Right.
That's important to do that. Show up
Mhm,
and be prepared to
mhm,
play.
mhm. Right. And another good way to find a mentor, sponsor, or champion is to be those things to others. So,
Yes.
you know, what you put out, you also receive. So, those are wonderful opportunities to say, who can I support? Who can I champion, sponsor? How can I be a peer mentor to someone? So, that can be a lot easier than trying to find or make a request, is to just to practice being that.
Yeah, you bring up another point too, because sometimes people feel like, well, I've got a sponsor, mentor, a champion, but how do I help them? A simple ask, what can I do to
Mm-hmm.
support you with your career goals? Is there anything that I can help you with? So offer something back,
Mm-hmm.
and don't be concerned as to whether or not, oh, what if they give me something I can't handle? Or, what if they say, no, there's nothing that you can do? People like generous and thoughtful people,
Mm-hmm.
bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And the person you're talking to, based on what you're sharing with them, they're not going to give you an ask that you're not able to fulfill,
Mm-hmm.
because they're able to ascertain the level that you are based on what you're sharing with them. But make sure that you don't leave the conversation with asking a question, how can I help? And here's another side tidbit. As you're talking and having conversations with a support person, really listen keenly for things they're sharing with you. They may be talking about something that they are thinking of in the future for their career, or perhaps there's something they want to know more about themselves and they haven't had time to find out about that. Jot that down, because those could be areas. What they're saying is, I need help in this area. And then after the conversation, go out and research what you can find and send them articles back. You brought this up
Mm-hmm.
briefly. You said this was a point of interest for you in the future. You hadn't been able to get to it. I found this for you, and I hope this is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
give them something back by listening intentionally to the conversation and find areas you can contribute. It goes a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, Denise, something that comes up uh, is this question about focusing on strengths versus weaknesses.
Mm.
Do you think it's best for employees, to focus on building goals around things they're already good at? Do you think it's important for staff to focus on some strengths as well as areas for improvement? What are your thoughts on that?
It's really a fine line. And I think the first thing is awareness. It's important to have awareness around where you are with your skill set. Clearly, Lisa, there are things in our jobs day to day that we need to do because they just need to get done. And they're not always the fun things. But the question then becomes, well, what parts of your job are you really excited about? What parts of your job are you doing with ease? And perhaps you are overlooking the opportunity to build and deepen those skill sets. So there is a balance, looking at what am I not so great at? Why am I not so great at it? And is this something that I can build upon? Or is it something that I need to communicate with my manager and say, this is an area of low performance for me, this skill set. And in all honesty, I see myself excelling and I have evidence of me excelling with this skill set on this other side. Given the fact that both of these are required in my career, I do want to strengthen an area that I'm not so strong in. However, I do want to make sure that the two are connected in a way that one can perhaps balance and support the other. Too
Mhm.
many times people will put their skill sets in a box, and then they'll try and go in this box and operate from something that they really don't love to do, and they're really not so
Mhm.
great at it, and they'll become frustrated by it because they're trying to make that one work versus
Mhm.
looking at the opportunity to bridge between the skill sets to see what is it that they're doing on the side where they're excelling. How does it connect
Mhm.
with the skill where they're not so strong in? And is there an opportunity to collaborate with others on their team,
Mhm.
where they can be able to hand off some of that kind of work? Not necessarily give that work to the other person and say, this is not my fun thing. Hey, do this. I'm going to give it to you. But to collaborate, and perhaps the person that you're collaborating with, they can take that skill set and go deeper in that area that you're not so strong in. So it's
Mhm.
important to have that awareness, have the conversation about what's really going on with that skill set, ask for support and help, and be creative in ways to balance it out so that you can have the best experience possible. And also that and demonstrate how this can benefit the manager, benefit your team, so that you all can be doing more of what you love.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I love that whole idea of collaboration in, working on one's areas of improvement or even sharing one's strengths, because it can work both ways. So, like for example, for some of my programs, I need to make some updates to the Grow Your Career website, and that's just not an area of expertise that I have, like technically, in understanding how to make design edits to our website. But
Mhm.
I'm fortunate to have some talented colleagues in those areas who I've partnered with and have helped propel those, updates and the design work. And it's been fabulous to work with them. And so those are their areas of strength, and I can contribute content. And it's such a wonderful partnership. And it helps those deliverables move forward faster, or somebody
Yeah,
share their strengths and they love doing it, and I don't have to learn it to that extent.
yeah, and I'm thank you for sharing that, because the idea you bring up about working on the website, someone may be a fantastic writer, and that person may
Mhm.
be really great with creating writing copy for websites,
Mhm.
right? They're just a really great
Mhm.
writer, and your skill set may be on the technical side. You might say, I love to make sure that all the
Mhm.
dots are connected. I love to
Mhm.
make sure that the systems are in place and all of the technical components and the compliance. So that may be your fave thing to do. But when your
Mhm.
boss gives you a task and says you need to write and do the technical piece, the writing may slow down the project almost to a
Mhm.
crawl because
Mhm.
that's not your area. But the fact that you went and tapped your colleague and said, hey, I'm looking for someone who really is great in this writing, or you go to them and say, hey, Vaneese, you're really great at writing. And so I'm working on this project. Here's where I need help. And I want to ask for your support and help, but I also want to be mindful of your workload. So,
Mhm.
what can I do
Mhm.
to support you with your workload as I'm asking for help on this project? And that person may be waiting, Lisa, for the opportunity to do something fun that they love to do. And that's in the area of their skill set. So definitely collaborating with others can
Mhm.
be really important and really effective. And everybody gets to
Mhm.
win from that.
Right. And really fun and really productive. And collaboration is one of our Achieve Together performance development criteria. And so when
Perfect.
we're having the conversation with our manager, how have you collaborated? And you get to share. And I worked on this project with this colleague or this person across campus, or this peer in another institution. We get to be creative and innovative and collaborative.
Yes.
Love what I
Very
do.
good.
So, Vaneese, final question during our time together. What are some ways that people can stay accountable to their professional goals, but also create space for adjusting the plan when circumstances and environments change? And I know you touched on this a bit, but
Mhm.
how can they keep themselves accountable, but also feel good about making revisions?
I think the number one thing about accountability is first and foremost, you should be accountable to yourself. That's really the first and foremost. And how do you become accountable to yourself? Think about your own personal life goals. That's really important. Work is a big chunk of our life, Lisa. That's where we spend the most of time away from personal areas of our life. We spend it on the career area. So it's important for you to really think about your own personal life. What's next for you in your career? And then you can be able to look at your own goals, tie those into, this is how my life will look based on these career goals I have. You know, these are the people that I see myself working with. This is how I want to feel at the end of my day and working. This is the impact that I want to have not only in the academic world, but also in my community around me. So think about what's important to you as an individual first, because that is what will drive the content for your vision. That's what's going to drive the content for your mission. So first and foremost. Number two, when we make our goals public with the right people, I talked about Spencers. I talked about sponsors, mentors, and champions. So when we make our goal public and we connect with
Mhm.
people that will contribute to us, people that we do ultimately need to have or get to have accountability follow-up conversations with, when we know that other people are counting on us, when we know that others have invested in us, we don't want to let them down. So that adds to the accountability also. And at the end of the day, think also about the impact of the people who are waiting for you, the impact that you'll have on your internal customer, your external customer, and realizing that, yes, it's about you, but guess what? It's not all about you. And that will help, individuals to really think broader than just,
Mhm.
this is what I want to do, this is for me, and just focusing on me, is really coming from a place of collaboration and coming from the place of collective, and also coming from the place of just contributing as being being a better human being in the world, period.
Mhm.
Those are ways that can motivate us to stay intact with what's important to us, even though we still have day-to-day work to do. It's not going to go away, but find the areas of balance for you. It's never, Lisa, straight balance that you're going to achieve this and kind of can do it like this all the way through. It's never going to be like that. We're in the pandemic. Who knew?
Right.
But definitely we get
Mhm.
to, you know, really look at different areas in our lives and in our careers, and we get to make sure we put some effort in planning time to focus on that area, which is your career.
Mhm. Well, Vaneese, that is just a perfect summary, taking it back to this concept of even like owning your career. So we have many tools, resources here at UC Berkeley, and ultimately each one of us gets to decide what is it that aligns with our goals, our skills, our strengths, and in our life, our values, and how can we use the setting of goals to help us accomplish those things that are important to us, that are aligned with our career journey and the story that we want to create around our careers and to share with others. So I want to thank you so very much for your time. This was so much fun. I could talk to you for hours.
Yeah.
And I want to just acknowledge your time for being here and just appreciate you sharing so many wonderful strategies to help UC Berkeley staff achieve their professional development goals. And this has been wonderful. And I hope that we get to have a conversation at some point in the future. around
Yeah.
career and staff development. So
And this was so fun, Lisa. Thank you for having me on as a guest. And I'm just excited to continue to share with my fellow colleagues and just continue to add to the resources that UC Berkeley already offers. It is going to be fantastic and amazing, and I cannot wait to just connect with my colleagues beyond this session and also the ones from the Now conference, and to read their emails about how this information is helping them to just take their career to a bold, big, and bad level. Super excited for everyone.
you have inspired hundreds, and now we have the opportunity to inspire hundreds more through this Grow on the Go video. And Vaneese, how can people further connect with you through like extension or LinkedIn or a website? How might they connect with you?
So all of the above. So you can connect
Mhm.
with me at my UC Berkeley email address. It's Vaneese, Vaneese.Johnson at Berkeley edu. So that is my staff email. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. A lot of the attendees, Lisa, from the Now conference, even up until the shooting of this video, were still sending me LinkedIn requests to connect.
Oh,
So please connect with
oh,
me on LinkedIn. And you
mhm.
also can visit my personal website at vaneesejohnson.com. So those are the three ways that individuals can connect with me. And I would love to hear your story and hear your journey, as you are taking this information, as well as other series information that Lisa and her team is going to be bringing, and how it is really helping you to just bold up in your career.
Well, Vaneese, thank you so much. This has been so much fun and so wonderful to continue to learn and be inspired from you. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Lisa.